a form of corporate self-regulation integrated into a business model. It goes by many names: corporate conscious, corporate citizenship, sustainable business, responsible business, you name it, or the more familiar name, corporate social responsibility. Aim to embrace responsibility for corporate actions and to encourage positive impact on the environment and stakeholders, consumers, employees, investors, communities, and others. On the perspective today, we have Dr. Maria Nindita Radyati, the founder of Master Degree Program for Corporate Social Responsibility and Community Entrepreneurship of Trisakti University. Hello, Maria.
Hello.
Welcome to Berita Satu English.
Thank you.
Now we talk about corporate social responsibility. If you can give us in a nutshell what it is actually. Like I've mentioned earlier, it goes by many names, and a lot of companies now refuses to use CSR, but for instance, human resources investment or development investment, sustainable living,
social investment.
Social investment. Those are the names that they've used so far.
Yes, yeah. So if you ask me about what is CSR, I would refer to the definition of social responsibility based on ISO 26000. So ISO 26000 is the guidance for social responsibility, which was agreed by more than 100 countries in the world.
Okay.
So social responsibility is actually the responsibility of an organization for the impact of its decision and activities to the society and the environment in a transparent and ethical way. So it's actually not just the responsibility of a corporate, but it's a responsibility for all types of organizations.
So if you can perhaps go back or sum it up, when was CSR first or recognized by companies in Indonesia? In the early 90s, or this is something that most companies are aware of, but in terms of practicing, maybe it's just of late 10 years. What's the timeline, or what's the milestone for CSR in Indonesia?
So people started to aware about CSR. It's about in early 2005, actually, yeah. But they actually have been practicing it for a long time, but they don't understand that what they are practicing are actually part of corporate social responsibility, yeah. So, and then after that, after 2005, then in 2007, then the government, through the regulation, which is law number 40 enacted in 2007, that is a law for private limited company. In the article of 74, it mentioned that all companies must conduct social responsibility for the social and also social and environmental social responsibility. So that is regulated in that law. So it's in 2007.
So it's fairly recent. In 2007, the regulation came out. People, corporate, mainly, not the public just yet, but recognized CSR in 2005. 2007 and up until now, how is the implementation of CSR in Indonesia in general?
So because we are going to talk about the misperception about CSR, yeah. So because of their misperception, then perception will lead you to the decision, right? Yeah. And decision will lead you to action, yeah. So if you have a wrong perception, then you will make a wrong decision, and then your actions will be also not correct. Yeah?
Why was there a misinterpretation or misperception of CSR in the first place?
Yeah. So. Maybe I should explain first what is the current perception about CSR. Yeah, so why I call it misperception. Yeah, so the current perception about CSR is that CSR is just a philanthropic activity, which means CSR is just donations, sponsorships, and also other philanthropic activities such as building, religious, places, yeah, like mosque, maybe church, yeah, and also building schools, yeah. But so it is not creating long-term impact, but just short-term impact, which I call kiss and run programs. Yeah, so that's the because of that perception of CSR is very shallow. It's just about donation and philanthropic activities. So the practices, most of the practices are just in those type of activities. Yeah, but the reason why it came out was because in about 2007 as well, or I think it was back to 2003, before 2007, there was a government regulation, especially for state-owned companies, you know, BUMN, you know, state-owned companies, that the state-owned companies must set aside 4% of their profit to do program kemitraan and bina lingkungan, which is a partnership program and environmental, development programs, you know. So that makes the people perceive that CSR is actually the distribution of your profit.
Right.
Yes, yeah, but that's why it is misperception. If state-owned companies is, required to set aside their profit, and the requirement is made by the government, that is fine, because the government is the shareholders of the state-owned companies. But for private limited companies, their obligation to the government is paying tax. Yeah, so government or no one can impose them to set aside their profit, but their shareholders. So if the shareholders agree to ask the company to set aside their profit, that's fine. But the obligation of the state-owned, the private limited companies are just to give tax to the government. So I think because of that regulation, then people perceive that CSR is just setting aside your profit, you know. But CSR is, it's very wide, and it covers your the value chain of the business. You know?
That's interesting. We'll talk into how regulations actually drive people's perception of what CSR is right after the break.